Welcome. Here we are. It's not WarriorCon 4 anymore. Now we're like in the after effect of the game that we've all been called to play. This is actually when the work gets started, and this is when the results are delivered, and this is when the game itself called life starts to make sense, is now. Peak experiences like we had at WarriorCon are powerful, and they're profound. But at the same time, they're things that simply open up the opportunity for us to see something bigger. How many of you inside the chat saw something bigger in yourself of what could be possible for your life inside those 4 days, whether virtually or in person with us at WarriorCon 4? Type in hell yes in the chat. Type in hell yes in the chat if you saw this for yourself. Once you see all of the hell yes coming in, and that's the powerful part, is the experiencing, being able to get a taste for something that is possible. But when we return back into the reality of who you are today, what seemed impossible becomes impossible. I was sitting on a conversation this morning with one of my guys. He and I have been working together for a number of years, and the challenge that he faces, the same challenge everybody faces, which is the fact that there are certain dilemmas inside of your world that are going to have to be taken on in a very fierce and direct and potent and powerful way. Some of you are going to be asked to make very difficult changes. Changes in the way you think, changes in the way you operate, changes in the way you think life should be. And they're difficult. Oftentimes, they're not difficult because they're complicated. They're just difficult because they're heavy. These decisions have to be made because you've been operating a certain way for an extended period of time. Some of you, decades, have been operating a certain way. And so there's a temptation to come into a program like Warrior Launch and that you expect to have some Herculean results in the first 30 days. And you will. You're going to have some results, you're going to have some experiences, you're going to have some potency that's going to return to your world. And all of our pursuit is this game of freedom, which you have determined, or you are going to determine as your outcome across body, being, balance, and business over the next 12 to 14 months. My job, my role is to help give you the tools to win, to actually have the ability not only to produce this win, but to be able to produce this win predictably over time. So we're going to start off the gate real quickly and just let all of you know there is a process here inside of this game, and I am going to request that you trust the process of this game. So let's write that first rule down. This rule you heard a bit when we talked about this inside of our preparation for WarriorCon 4, which is this idea of trust the process. This right here matters. Like the game that we're stepping into matters. This game that we're experiencing matters. What we're experiencing here in Trust the Process is an ability for you to see that what you are about to step into is not something that we just created yesterday. Right? Warrior did not just birth itself last week. We didn't just come up with an idea before WarriorCon 4 and then introduce you to it. I started working on the concepts and the principles inside of journals in my life for what you are about to step into and learn, which is the purpose of this call, is learning. It's not about living it directly, it's about learning it cognitively. We're here to learn cognitively, to get your brain to open up to containers, and inside those containers for us to be able to put content inside of those containers. But I'm not interested in you being successful with the containers or this content for a short period of time. I'm interested in you finding yourself through Warrior Launch, into Warrior Council, from Warrior Council to King's Council, from King's Council to the Free Man Council, which is our ultimate outcome, which I shared with you at WarriorCon 4. So the first thing we've got to understand is that there is a specific process that we have perfected here. And I'm going to ask you to trust the process. You're going to write these rules down because we're going to talk about them here as a group as we get started. And you're going to share them just like we did at WarriorCon 4. You're going to be in breakouts today. You're going to be in conversations today. You're going to be in all kinds of dialogue around this today. So number one, trust the process. If you're clear about rule number one, type it in the chat. Give me rule number one in the chat. Type it in the chat so I know that you're clear and you're following me. Type in rule number one in the chat. What is rule number one? Trust the process. Trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. So part of that means that here inside of this experience, we're going to slow down to go faster. Some of you have exposure to Warrior before. And I would have you consider that a return to the basics is what's required. And people hear me say this, and they think that I'm telling them to start over, and I'm not. Not in the frame of the container that your brain is thinking. I'm not asking you to start over as if we're going to throw everything away that you've already done. I'm saying we're going to come back to the beginning, and that beginning is going to be a beginning at a higher level. So if I'm at level 3, then what I'm asking you to do is let go of level 3, and I'm going to ask you to restart heading to level 4. Because the ideas, the concepts, the frameworks of Warrior, they make sense to you at level 3. At level 4, though, your perception of them is going to have to change, which means there's a specific process to launch that we have been working on and defining as the road to the most powerful longevity inside of the work. If this was simply about me selling some shit and about getting people to buy in to an idea and then have you buy some shit from me, this is not the process we would take. But if this is about the opposite, which is you ultimately living this way, you ultimately becoming a beacon of the way, and you ascending through our process to the Free Man Council, if this is what I'm after, then I'm going to have to start with the basics here in this very, very, very beginning stage, which is trust the process. Number 2, details matter. Write it down. Details matter. Does this mean that we're going to be perfect? No. Does this mean that you're going to be perfect? No. Does this mean I'm going to be perfect? No. None of us are going to be perfect. That's not what we're after. We are not after perfection, and oftentimes we get stuck in this trap. Here's how the trap goes. You get the real list of things that we're to do, and then you see this list of to-dos, and then you miss 1 or 2 of them. Because you weren't paying attention, you didn't read an email, whatever the case is. For whatever reason, you missed them. And so then you start to beat yourself up with guilt and shame over the fact that you missed some of the details. The frame here at Warrior has evolved. This is no longer a kick a man in the dick so that he can get it right. This game itself is about kicking you in the dick, but we're after something bigger, which is we're after the spirit of the game more than I'm after you understanding the minute details perfectly. I don't need you to know the details perfectly. I need you to be in the spirit of this, the energy of this, and what helps us with this is paying attention to the details. For example, being here inside of this call. Every week you're going to have an opportunity. This is a learn call. You don't have to show up to this call every single week. This is a call about learning. This is like being in a classroom where we're going to talk around concepts and ideas. This would be like having a professor in your world discussing the ideology of marketing, the principles of marketing, and then the next call, which happens later this afternoon, that call is about living, which is the implementation and execution. And people look at this and they're like, I don't understand. I don't understand. No. Details matter here, and one of the details is you cannot live what you have not learned, yet through living you will learn even more. But the beginning stage of this is getting the concepts into your mind. Rule number 2 then is details matter. That fits perfectly into this game of trust the process. If I trust the process, then details matter. These two go hand in hand. If you're clear about rule number 2, type rule number 2 in the chat so I know it matters to you and that you're paying attention to what it is. Give me rule number 2 in the chat. Let's go. Give me rule number 2 in the chat, rule number 2 in the chat, rule number 2 in the chat. Beautiful. Rule number 3. Be here now. Be here now. I want you to consider that you could show up on a call. You could nail, number 1, trust the process. You could be here on a learn call. You could be smashing and annihilating details matter. And you could completely fuck it up at rule number 3, which is you're not here. You're messing around on chat, you're messing around on text, you're messing around on social media. You're not here. You'd be better off to go back and listen to this call as a replay and be focused and be present when you are listening to it and going through it with the intention to learn than you would by simply passing time listening to some content or making pretend that you're here. If you're not going to be here during the call, then don't be here. Go be wherever it is you need to be. This call is not obligatory. The entire launch experience is about you hitting specific criteria. It's about you being quizzed and tested and giving reports in the learn phase so that we know that you know what you're talking about inside of the narrative, the ideas, the principles, and the science known as the Warrior's Way to have it all. This has been a fundamental issue that we have run into over years, which is the lack of knowledge in the mind, the lack of containers or frames for the men to follow. And because of the lack of those frames, then things fall apart as the pressure rises. What you can pull off at level 3 and get away with, you can't pull off at level 5. This is why your math teacher in high school, middle school was so adamant about you showing your work. I didn't get it at the time. I get it now, which is your work, in this case, how you stack, understanding the concepts around it. Your work itself, how you build up to getting the result, affects not your ability to get the results now, it affects your ability to get results at level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8. And you're gonna find, like many companies do, that the operating system they built the company on was perfect up to a certain level. But once that company broke 10 million or broke 15 million or broke 25 million, the operating system that was efficient at 10 falls apart under the heat and pressure at 25 and fundamentally breaks. How many of you get what I'm talking about? Type in the chat, I get it. Type in I get it in the chat if you get what I'm talking about. So no matter what level you're at, whether you're at a level 3 or a level 10 or a level 700, in order to get to the next level, we have to break the frame and then put you back together again. Some of you, this is your very first start with Warrior. It's going to be beautiful because you're going to start at the highest and most potent version of Warrior. For some of you, you're coming back and you got these old stories that I already know this or I got this already. Some of the most powerful books I've ever read have been books that I just focus on and study over and over and over and over again. This is how I became who I am as a marketer. I picked the 4 or 5 books and I'd only poured into those 4 or 5 books. That's it. I didn't read everything else. I didn't listen to every podcast under the sun. I didn't listen to every coach, every mentor, every guru. I plugged into one place and I played. And so I would have you consider that if I say be here now, I'm saying be here in Warrior. Don't be at Tony's event. Don't be at these other, don't go to Strategic. Don't be part of all these other programs. Be here now. So the challenge you get is that you think that a lot of your brain will think though under the following, which is, well, if one shot was good, right? If one shot was good, then probably 4 shots at tequila would be great. Only to find out that more did not equal more equaled less. You do not need more voices in your world. If I'm your voice and if Coach Trevor and the team here, if Warrior's Way is the message that you need at this season in your time, I am encouraging you to shut everything else out. Don't study any other personal development topics. Don't go read any other shit about how to improve your life. Focus here. Be here now in this curriculum. This is what you invested in. Extract and suck the marrow from this process. If you understand where I'm at right now with this, type in rule number 3, be here now. And by the way, again, you're going to be teaching these rules to each other here in just a second to break out. Be here now, which applies to multiple of the levels. Being here in the call, being here inside of this program, being here. Don't be here and then spending all your fucking time watching free reels on every other trainer under the sun. You paid to be here. I watch men do this. They will pay to be in the program, and then they'll sit and take opinions from all this free content they get all day long. And I'm like, why would you fucking pay for this program and then spend all your time consuming bullshit out here while avoiding consuming the content and the curriculum that you ultimately said you wanted in the first place? If you're clear about what I mean by this point here with point number 3, type in the word clear in the chat. This does not mean that all these other trainers are not good. It does not mean that you will not spend seasons of time in other places. It does not mean that I will not recommend books to you, but you have 6 books sitting in front of you right now. 6. one combination of Be the Man and Warrior book. You've got the code, the stack, the core, the door, and the game. You have 5 books. I promise you have plenty to keep you fucking busy in figuring out how those work versus going and spending time reading God knows what from every airport stand that you pick up a book or next recommendation that came through a Joe Rogan podcast. Rule number 4. Don't ever quit. Don't ever quit. Simple. Now, you hear the word ever and you're like, man, that's a long time, ever. This is what I'm asking you. I'm asking you not to quit. See, many of you, we're going to go through a process of gestation. Your goal is going to be like, I want to hurry and get through Warrior Launch. I'm like, no, you don't. What you want to do is get the result that you're really after with Warrior Launch, which is the ultimate integration of a new operating system into who you are. To do this here in this first call every week is a conversation of learning. Yes, you're going to be sitting and reading books. We got questions about physical copy books, etc. in the Warrior Box and getting this to your home. We're going to have all those questions answered for you. We're going to have an entire detailed report coming out to you this week. Because I want you to have the physical books. I want you to have them in your hands. I want you to read them, notate them, put sticky notes in, highlight them. You can do the digital version. You can listen to it. This is all going to be part of your experience inside of the Warrior Launch is learning. This means you're going to consume all the books. For some of you, there's going to be more books than you ever consumed in the last 5 years. You'd be like, that's a lot of books. I was like, I know. Our Wake Up Warrior Challenge, we have men who have gone through 4 of the books in less than 30 days. It is possible when you are focused, but we are not after consumption just to consume. We're after consumption in order to learn. Build containers in your mind so that when we talk about living the Warrior's Way, you have containers to work with. So what does don't ever quit mean? Don't ever quit means that you have a process of gestation. Slow the fuck down and allow the process to occur. A year ago, I set a target. I said, I'm going to have walkable six-pack. That's what I want. I want to walk around on a day-to-day basis. I kind of have more like a 4.5-pack. I don't ever really have a 6-pack, and I haven't had one for a long time. I made that target last year. There were 2 things that I implemented for that with my freedom maps. One was I was going to integrate kettlebell workouts, and number 2 is I was going to eliminate drinking beer. And I wanted to get alcohol down to 1 time a week at the maximum. That's it. Like I just wanted that. That's what I wanted, right? So I was like, those are 2 things I'm going to do to be able to pull about the experience with my 6-pack. That's what I was after. Well, here I am, sitting in the fall of 2022, and guess what? Walking around with a 6-pack all the time. And it's not work. It's not work right now. It's just a compound effect of a series of decisions that were made. Eradication of alcohol from my system, changing my diet, and ultimately hitting these kettlebell workouts every single day. I don't work out like a beast. I don't train hardcore. I don't hit fucking 5 CrossFit workouts a day. I don't roll at the jiu-jitsu studio 25 hours a week. Nope, don't give a shit. Had one specific target, but that was a result that came after not quitting. I didn't start seeing the results until about 4 months ago. But the compounding effect of it started last fall, which means I had 7, 8, 9 months, and now I'm in a rhythm. And now the cool part is I know. I know where my body's at, from meeting with my doctors to what we're doing with testosterone, to how I'm working out, to how I'm training, how I'm eating. Now I can maintain this for a long ass time, forever. And that's what I'm after. I'm not after you getting a short-term win. I'm not after you becoming the guy who doesn't quit for 90 days, loses 100 pounds, and then puts 100 pounds back on over the next 12 months. There are men who have been in this place who across body, being, balance, and business just continue to loop the same results over and over and over again. This means in rule number 4, don't ever quit, which is you don't have to go fast, just don't go slow. Make progress every day. Don't quit. You fuck it up today, guess what I want you to do tomorrow? Start again. You do not have to do it perfectly. What we have to be is unwilling to quit. I'm not going to quit, and I'm not going to quit. I'm not the smartest guy. People think I'm smart now because they listen to the shit I've done. They're like, man, he's pretty smart. No, no, no. The place I'm going right now with my life, the only smartness I have is I follow these rules. I trust the process. I know the details matter. I be here now. And guess what? I don't ever quit. So while everybody else wants to take their foot off the gas, I just keep pushing the gas. I don't have to go 120 miles an hour, although to the world around me, it feels like I'm going that fast because I've just not stopped. Think of it this way. You can walk every single day, all of you, no matter what kind of shape you are. There are a couple of you who would be really rough at this with your physical body, but you could in reality walk every day for 10 miles. You can walk 10 miles a day. You can walk 30 minutes a mile. It's not that fast at all. You can walk that entire process, and every single day, walk 10 miles. You walk 10 miles today, you walk 10 miles tomorrow. Whatever's going on with my audio, you can get that fixed for me. Thank you. I walk 10 miles tomorrow, I walk 10 miles the next day, I walk 10 miles the next day, I walk 10 miles the next day, and guess what? In 7 days, I've walked 70 miles. Well, if the person that you were standing next to sprinted real hard and ran 20 miles on Monday and Tuesday, and they sprinted real hard and they were so much faster than you, and then they stopped on Wednesday, and then they didn't run on Thursday, and they didn't run on Friday, and they didn't run on Saturday, and they didn't run on Sunday. You know, the thing that's interesting is they went 20 miles, and they were super impressive. I'm super impressed by all of your speed, only to find out at the end of the week that you're 50 miles ahead of them. Now, they try to catch up because now they're behind, quote unquote, and so they try to sprint again. Oh, I'm going to sprint really fast. I'm going to sprint really fast and catch up. So then they run 40 miles to try to catch up to you really, really fast, and they're blazing saddles, breaking time barrier records, and people are like, how the hell is this even possible? They're exhausted and fatigued from putting in so much effort, and you just don't stop. So we're at the end of week 2, and this guy now has 20 miles from his first week, and he's got another 40 miles from his second week trying to catch up. He's at 60 miles. He's still not as far down the path as you were after week 1, only now we just keep walking 10 miles a day. Now we're 140 miles. You will not win this game because of some Herculean effort on day 1. You will win it because you pick a game to play at, call it 72%, and at 72%, you just don't stop playing at 72%. Well, it's Sunday, I don't care, I play at 72%. It's Monday, I don't care, I play at 72%. People are like, well, I should play 100%. You can only play 100% for a period of time before you burn the fuck out. I need you to learn this game, and part of this requires you to settle into the fact that you're going into student mode. Yeah, but coach, I want to change my marketing plans and I want to make a ton of money and I want blowjobs 3 days a week. I hear you. Put all that shit to the side for a second. Because again, not interested in you getting a hand job or a blowjob next week and then making a spike in income only to find yourself the end of Q1 right back in the same bullshit place that you were when you started. So unlike most places are going to do all these things to help you get quote, quote, quick wins, we're not interested in your quick win. I'm interested in your long-term domination. Fuck your quick wins. I'm after long-term domination. Let everybody happy clappy trainer out there give you all your quick wins so that you can mentally feel justified for the program that you just invested in. I'm not interested in your quick wins. I'm not interested in your testimonies. I'm interested in your case studies. I don't want testimonials. Fuck the testimonials. I want case studies. What's the difference between testimony and a case study? Testimonial is Garrett's so great, Warrior's so great, blah, blah, blah. Case study is here's where they are. When they started, here's where they are now. Look at the results in between. That's the gap. You fucking tell me if this program works. If you see what I'm talking about and you get it, type in I get it. Type in I get it in the chat if you get what I'm talking about. Type in I get it. Type in I get it. Well done. Final rule. Final rule. Take care of your brother. I want you to consider something. That your willingness to invest in the men around you, as well as yourself, will change the way you experience yourself. How many of you had a situation where you've been teaching something to somebody else only to find yourself so clear in the process of teaching them that you were more clear than if you had just sat by yourself reading and studying? Type in me. That there's a power that comes about from just teaching other people, talking to other people. So listen, we have a tribe unit inside the software, which we're going to talk about and live. You have the opportunity to set up units of men with each other, to lead and guide each other, to support each other, to set up tribe units, set up chat units, chat channels, and have conversation and dialogue here inside the Warrior app with each other. To get buddies together and say, hey, we're going to read We Live by Code book together. We're going to return a report with our Discover stacks into the chat together or into our tribe unit. You had tools here. Taking care of your brother means being willing to build and lead a small group of men. Be part of it. Take it on. Part of the reason why I'm not assigning you coaches, part of the reason why we took away the small units the way that we were doing it is, number one, the scalability. This is impossible when it comes to coaches. But number two, the bigger piece is it wasn't allowing men inside this game to rise. So you're going to want to get together over the next couple of weeks in a group of 4 or 5. You're going to find who your guys are and set up a tribe unit, begin to share inside of it. We'll talk about how that plays out and live. But a game of taking care of your brother means you have to start taking care of you, and then I reach out to be able to serve the men around me. You will find a power that comes from serving them. I play from this interesting place, which is, yes, the king eats first, but on the flip side of this is part of my greatest growth and discovery in my life comes through serving other people inside Warrior. It's being willing to care about somebody else, not just myself. It doesn't mean I care more about them than I do myself, not at all. I care about myself the most. But because I care about myself the most, it's in my self-interest to care about you, to care about the men around me. So rule number 5 is the finale. Take care of your brother. If you're clear about rule number 5, type in the chat. Take care of your brother. Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. Type it in the chat. Type in chat rule number 5, take care of your brother. 5 simple rules. Trust the process. Details matter. Be here now. Don't ever quit. Take care of your brother. They're not complicated. They're the foundation for what we're going to do here. And we're going to take a chance to now talk about this. We're going to discuss this as a group. You're going to get into units. We're going to go 15 minutes on this. And as we do, and before we do, I'm going to offer a word to get us started. In this 15-minute breakout, some of you will be with Coach Trevor here inside of this, and the rest of you will be in different breakouts with each other. Again, the replay on this and the conversation, we always record one of the units who is with our coach at that time. And then that conversation, that dialogue, then gets part of the replay that goes out. For the rest of you, you'll be in your own individual units. We won't see what you're saying and doing. But inside this, you got a chance to talk about it. What are the 5 rules and what's coming up for you as you hear them and discuss them? Do not spend all your time on one person and then go to the next. Take rule number 1, trust the process, and then you as a group are going to talk about it. Every guy gets a chance to discuss it. Then you go around a second time. Details matter. Okay, cool. What are you guys getting from this? What are you hearing from this? What's coming up for you? Rule number 3, be here now. What are you guys getting from that? And how does that apply to this learning experience of being here at Warrior? Rule number 4, don't ever quit. Again, play this around in the circle. And rule number 5, take care of your brother. So go rule by rule by rule and then dialogue it as a group. Every man gets a chance to talk. Every man gets a chance to have a perspective. Every man gets a chance to have an opinion, because in you having an opinion, you become edified and so does everyone else. Some of your biggest learning today, and as you go through this, will come from men as they share their perspective on the code, the stack, the core, the door, and the game. We got 15 minutes for us to talk about this, but before we do, let's get ourselves grounded up. So go ahead and close your eyes real quick. Close them up, close them up, close them up. Close them up, close them up, close them up. Here we go. Let's take a deep breath in and release. And deep breath in and release. And deep breath in and release. Guys, we get started today here inside of this very first call of Warrior Launch with the 120 to 130 some men right now that currently are in this program and in this experience. If I would ask that as these men share today, as they learn today, as they sit here inside the Learn Call, that your mind in their minds would become aligned. That things that they need to see and they understand about the game of learning, about this process of becoming, that this revelation that they're searching for is going to come from this foundational experience. I ask it when they share, that they share with bold courage, that inside of it they're transparent with each other, Father, that they're willing to be honest with one another, that they're willing to be vulnerable here, that they're willing to be in some conversations that maybe they wouldn't otherwise be in. That today, as they leave this call, both from getting a chance to hear from me, hear from Coach Trevor, hear from each other, and get to hear themselves speak, that inside of this, they will leave edified and clear about this path that we're heading on with this Game of Warrior Launch. And more importantly, that this game that they are taking in this process of waking up, taking a knee, having it all, and being free. Father, your guidance would be with them today, that your words would be with them today, that your spirit would be with them today as our prayers would get started today here in call number 1. In Jesus' name, amen. Gentlemen, here we go. We got 15 minutes on this share. Rami, go ahead and put me and Coach Trevor in the same group here on the main play. You got 15 minutes on this for everybody to talk through this. If you're clear about what our share is going to be, type in the word clear into the chat so I know you know. We got 15 minutes and we're going to jump directly into some very important frameworks. They're going to support you inside of this particular call, the Learn call that happens every week on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. for the Warrior Launch program. Okay, everybody's clear. We got 15 minutes. Again, Rami, go ahead and bring Coach Trevor into the group with me. Coach Trevor, you'll be running this group this here on this breakout with me. All right, here we go. We got 15 minutes on the clock. 3, 2, 1, off we go.
All right, welcome, gentlemen. Welcome. Good to see you guys. Matt, Jack, Nick.
Give him one more person.
All right, let's rock and roll. So we're going to start out with rule number 1, trust the process. Let's see. Matt Cordell, man. Looks like you're on a treadmill. Getting your workout on. What does that mean to you, man? Trust the process. What comes up for you?
When I got started with this whole thing, the marketing is a little much, right? It's a very specific type of marketing that is usually leading to not these things, right? And I came here with a referral from trusted source, that told me that this would be a life changer. And as I kind of listened to the language, and obviously there's been kind of some focus to hone in on the Christianity portion versus in the books and stuff. It's very nebulous, the voice and things like that. Just getting over my own kind of discomfort with those things that are not material that would otherwise stand in my way. And
these guys are blocked. Or do you have some kind of muting thing going on for everyone, Rami?
Beautiful share. Let go so that you can grow. I love it. All right, Jack, what about you, brother?
For me, it's about surrender. What I've been doing to this point has not worked and has actually probably taken me away from my goals. What came up for me, I was thinking about the scene in the Indiana Jones movie when he takes that step out onto hoping that the bridge is there, and it appears. I need to get to the other side. I need to get to see what's out there, and I need to get into a new life. So that's what that means to me. I need to surrender to the process.
Beautiful. John.
Good morning. Well, regarding trusting the process is more a process that Garrett yourself have already proven that taking a step at a time, and by us following those steps, we're to follow the guidelines that you've proven that they're worthwhile. And that's part of trusting the process. I mean, if you want to invent something else, you're in the wrong place. You're in the place of following stepping stones that Garrett and yourself and the whole team has already been living.
Yeah, you've got fruit. You already see the result, right? So it's trusting that. Beautiful. Nick.
Hey, Coach Trevor.
What's up,
trust the process means something different for me, brother.
For sure.
My heart exploded, imploded, and the trust the process was the main theme all throughout. Well, bro, I mean, I wrote down one of my keys to the door week of WarriorCon 4 was trust the process. As I was up there bearing all for all to see, I remember thinking to yourself, this really fucking sucks, but just trust the process. My process has changed now. The process has improved for me. When I made a commitment to you and Coach Garrett and everyone in the room and everyone on virtual, I go to the gym 6 days a week now. That's now part of my process. I went this morning. I was there at 5 a.m. I've been there at 5 a.m. every day that I said I would since we got, even before we left Vegas. So trust the process now to me also means do what you say you're going to do. But it also means do it without fail. It means unequivocal now to me. It means absolute. There's going to be mistakes, of course, but it means all in for me as well. Trust, but don't half-ass the trust. Trust, but all in. Trust unequivocally. If Coach Garrett says do it, if Warrior says do it, if Voice in the God says do it, fucking take your shirt off in front of the entire world and do whatever it takes.
Well, dude, it's
In a
wild.
nut-
If you didn't trust the process in that moment, look at the gift you would have lost.
There's no amount of money or no words that could possibly describe what I gained in trusting the process in that moment. It will effectively change the course of my life and my family's life and the legacy that I leave on this planet for the good of man and glory of God for all of eternity.
Yeah. Yeah. Epic, brother. Epic. It was a joy to be a part of the witness of that process for you.
Amen.
For sure.
Amen.
All right, Matthew Wilbur, man, what's coming up for you? Trust the process.
So for me, it's really just submitting, right? I think a lot of times we get caught up in our own egos. We're like, I know better, or I know this, or I know that. It's like, no, you don't. You don't fucking know better. If you did, you wouldn't be here. And then to that point is on the days that you feel like shit is still showing up. That kind of ties into some of the other rules, but that's what comes up for me.
All right, beautiful. Beautiful. Moving right along. Good job, gentlemen. Details matter. Matt Cordell, man, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it means you know, sometimes you got to show up and just get it done, right? You know, so it matters to be you know, to be doing your best and to be improving it, what that means and how you show up every day. But you know, I think it was what was key to me is not to get hung up on perfection and not to let, you know, the perfection or the lack of perfection in any instance to get in the way, but to show up, get it done, and you know, do better next time.
Wow, beautiful. Jack, details matter.
Yeah, I think, you know, we're going to be learning a lot of details here, I can imagine, and I've had a little bit of experience with this, but it means really paying attention to what's being presented and not getting in our own way of not doing it. You know, just listening, seeing what's presented, and following it. And it actually kind of rolls into the next one will be here now, but I mean, and don't get overwhelmed by it. You know, there's a lot of details that may just seem foreign or brand new, or and you just got to do it. You just got to pay attention, and just focus.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. John.
Well, regarding details matter is that there'll be a lot of written documents we're going to read. We're going to participate, as we're doing right now, as well as participate in the calls, participate in the homeworks. So we got to participate in every single detail in order for this to be able to work.
Yeah, I love that, right? Not picking and choosing which details you're going to follow and which ones you're just going to disregard. Wow,
Correct.
love that. All right, Nick, what about you, brother?
Yeah, for me, details matter is synonymous with do things with excellence. You can't do things with excellence if you're avoiding picking and choosing the details that you want to follow. I believe God calls us to be excellent in our execution of our work, and so I like honing in on the details. I like obsessing about the small things because I think it creates an edge for us in our world, in our businesses, in our lives. When details matter to us, and details matter, I teach my kids that details matter to me, then details start to matter to them, and it translates into efficiencies and optimization across core 4. So it's excellent to focus on the details.
Wow. Great. Matthew Wilbur, details matter, man. Does that mean you?
So for me, details matter means not checking the fucking box. I know in the past I've gotten the habit of, I'm stacking, I'm doing the work, but there's a big difference between submitting, trusting the process, and then actually going all in and acting with intention and intensity to get the end results that you want. You can do something and not get the end result. So it means to me.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful. All right, number 3, it's a big one. Be here now. Be here now. Matt Cordell, man, what does that mean for you?
Two big things resonated with me on that. One was, you know, I've got Teams up over on this monitor here. I've got Outlook behind what we're doing in front of me. You know, I've got stuff that's going to be demanding my attention everywhere, and probably wouldn't be a bad plan to just shut all that off. But to the extent that I find my mind wanting to wander to something else, I've got this note in the Warrior app in front of me, and I'm like, zoom in, take notes. You better be typing right now if you know. So actually being here on the call, and then you know, something I started doing a couple of days ago, which he, you know, kind of validated on there, was clearing my schedule. It's like, this has taken a lot of my time and energy and mind share, and I'm not going to be able to share that over the next year with some professional organizations that are low value, or podcasts that are low value, or books that I've been meaning to read, right? So just shutting some of that down and giving myself permission to back off from it.
Beautiful. Jack.
Being present is one of the most important things there is. If you can be present in this moment is all we really have. So we got to stay totally focused in it. For me, what came up during WarriorCon 4 was I tend to live my life where stuff from the past will creep in and affect the stories that I'm living right now. So that's one of the things that I have to shut down while I'm in this process. I mean, I have all my electronics off, my phone's not on, nothing like that. So I'm focused in this process. But if my mind's going to wander, that's where I'm going to get in trouble. Because I have past experiences that weren't necessarily great, and so I'm trying to get rid of those. But I want to put them out, fill my cup with a whole new liquid, and drink that down.
Beautiful. Well, your mind wanders, you miss the detail that actually matters.
Right.
Exactly. How interconnected all these rules seem to be.
Yep.
Almost like we planned this or something.
Wow.
All right, John.
Well,
Be here now, man.
You have to be actively participating in that 2-hour meeting, which is right now, which is without any other distractions. If you are without distractions, well, you're not in the meeting. And this is just like and this meeting is not only a meeting of business, it's a meeting of we're the client, we are the people that matter. So if we care about ourselves, then we got to be present. Otherwise, you're in a meeting which you're the main participant and you're absent. So you just have to be present.
Nope. Just be present. Love it. Nick, be here now.
Yeah, Coach, be here now for me. For me, I know it really means be present and participate. For me, it means all in. Before WarriorCon 4, I was the guy on the outside. I've been watching Garrett since I saw his first Facebook ad in 2018, and I loved every bit of it. But I did not dedicate my life to the process of evolving inside through revelations that were acquired and developed in Warrior. I did a little bit, and then I did my life. I did a little bit, and then I went to work. I did a little bit. The most important phone call of the entire day just rang. It was very hard for me not to answer it. But I am committed to trusting the process now, as I've been unequivocally, it's been decided for me that I have no choice but to not. And so I'm here now, man. Everything else has to take second place. I have to be all in with my brothers, no matter what it costs.
Yep. Beautiful. Matthew, Wilbert.
Yep. So for me, it's just blocking out all distractions and being fully present. That's something that I struggle with, like in my balance domain for a while. My wife always kind of demanded of me. I didn't really get it until recently, and it's clicking now. So it's the same thing here. Is just be here with you guys, listen, communicate, engage, and get the most out of it.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to go around the horn quick, rapid fire, these last two rules. So Matt Cordell, don't ever quit. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, just do the things every day, right? I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, beautiful. Jack, don't ever quit.
That means understanding your why, and if you understand your why, it makes it easier not to quit.
I love that. John, don't ever quit.
No, I can't ever quit, otherwise, and you can surrender. So you have to go all in.
All in. All right, Nick, don't ever quit. It's a big one.
Quitting is not even an option, like divorce inside my marriage. It doesn't even exist. Impossible to quit, will not quit, decision made to never quit so that it's removed.
Burn the ships, right?
Burn the ships.
Yeah. Matthew.
Yeah. Do it regardless whether you want to or not.
I love it because that's a big one. All right, last one. And this is kind of like the button end, right? Take care of your brother. What does that mean to you, Matt Cordell?
Yeah, I guess it really hit me the idea that you can take care of your brother out of selfish need, that you're going to pour in deposits to people who will one day maybe pour into you. So that's kind of the worst case scenario part of it. But I mean, it's also, hey, I've done a lot of the stuff that that maybe other people are struggling with, and I can be for them what maybe they can be for me at some point.
Beautiful. Jack.
Yeah, we all have life experiences that we can bring to the table. We can share with our brothers, and we can lean into them, and they can lean into us, and we can hold them accountable, and hopefully they can hold me accountable.
Yeah, proper container. We love it. John, take care of your brother. What's that mean to you?
One thing is to work amongst ourselves, but we also learn from our peers, and that accountability, being in a team, is a solution to move forward.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Nick.
Listen to my brothers as much or more than I want to speak to them.
Dude, I love that. All right, Matthew Wilbur.
For me, it's simple. It's love. It's just genuinely caring.
Beautiful. Great shares, gentlemen. Thank you for sharing this. This is exciting. I'm pumped to roll. So I'll see you guys back in the main room.
Thanks.
Choose to create it to be. This training and being here inside of it is going to be simply a touch point. The work that's going to be done is going to happen in between these calls. It's not going to be in the call. The call is not here to do the work. The call is here to re-engage, to recommit, and to get questions answered around the content and the frameworks of the Warriors Way. If you are leaning just on this call to get it done, you're in trouble, because that's not the purpose of this call. This purpose is not just here of this call to teach you. It's not to teach, it's to hot seat you and assist you in seeing different angles around the frameworks that you're already studying. Each one of you, as you come into this process in the learn stage of Warrior Launch, are going to go through 3 specific experiences. You're going to have actual consumption of content, and then from the consumption of content, you will be quizzed and tested on that content and those frameworks. Those quizzes and tests are pass or fail. That's it. We either got it or you didn't get it. If you can't cognitively teach it and you can't pass quizzes and tests with it, then we know you don't know it. If you don't know it, then when we try to live it, it becomes a bit of a scattered experience. It's going to be less predictable and also less potent. The results aren't going to happen the way that you want them, and you definitely won't be able to sustain them. We need to have these frameworks in your mind and these ideas and concepts in your mind so that when things get spicy and you're in the game of living, that your brain has something to lean back on. We can go very deep inside the world of frameworks, but trying to memorize shit is difficult. So I'm not trying to get you to memorize shitloads of content. I don't need you to memorize, quote, verses or statements out of the Warriors Way curriculum at all. I want you to memorize frameworks, and then inside those frameworks be able to place concepts, and those concepts and those frameworks become the containers, and those containers become the foundation on which you can live the Warriors Way. Without these, living it becomes difficult. If I try to live without them, I have no foundation on which to stand. If I just learn, and I never live, well, then again, all of that learning is for naught, because much of the learning will occur as you start to do the work that you're learning inside of the curriculum. So there's an intertwined experience between these, but here in the learn experience, we're specifically focused on just content consumption, being able to get ideas and concepts into your brain. How many have been in a situation where you have been studying a particular topic, whether it was in business, business or your body or spirituality, and you've been reading something and it's not new, you've been reading it over and over again, maybe even over years, and all of a sudden one day, things just click for you. Like you get it. If that's you and that's happening, you type in me in the chat. Type in me in the chat if this is happening for you. Haven't been in a situation where you've been reading a book, let's say the Bible, or you've been reading a book that has spiritual significance to you, and inside of reading that book, you're reading along one day, and all of a sudden a series of verses hit you in a way they never have hit you before. Type in yes in the chat if you've seen this occur for you. So understand that the content doesn't change. What changes is you as the consumer of the content. As I evolve, as I change, what I see is different. So I take the foundational book of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's the very first book I read in the world of business. I had not read any other book about money, had nothing. write nothing. Graduated from college, had read 5 books. Memorized stuff, spit it back out for tests, and I was done. Got a degree in secondary education as a PE teacher. That was my degree, be a high school teacher and a football coach, right? So I managed to get done without reading. I just would memorize stuff for tests, pass the test, and be done. So reading Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first time I'd ever picked up a book by my own decision and said, I want to read this book. Now I can't understand how I never wanted to read, but I just didn't. I thought reading books were stupid, just like eating greens was stupid. I was like, never going to eat greens and not going to read books. So I had this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. At the same time, there was another book that came into my life from Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was a book called Body for Life by Bill Phillips. Both these books were interesting books, right? Because when I read them the very first time, I read them through the eyes of a young man almost 20 plus years ago, reading through both of these books, and I interpreted them based upon a man that was, well, 26 years old. Coming back and reading those books both at 46, I realized, number one, Bill Phillips was a brilliant marketer. I mean, I kind of understood that, but I didn't really. Like, brilliant hook piece to sell supplements, like fucking genius. Didn't see that, though, in the book. The book also seemed, when I first read it the first time, seemed to just like fill up my soul in ways that were just like, I was so new to the conversation of fitness that way, and I was so new to the conversation of money with Rich Dad Poor Dad and Rich Dad Poor Dad and Robert Kiyosaki, that when I read them, I was just trying to get concepts. The biggest thing that opened up for me was I was raised in a poor dad lifestyle and I wanted a rich dad lifestyle. I had no idea how I was going to pull that off. Like most people who read that book, I figured real estate was probably the path because there was real estate talked about constantly inside of Rich Dad Poor Dad. But the concept of the books are what shifted me. Now, read those now at 46 after what I've done with 5 children and built the world that I built. I can see and appreciate the simplicity with which both of these books were written. I see them from a different angle. I see them through the angle of being a marketer, as a closer, as a leader. I see them through being an entrepreneur and a successful businessman. I see them through being a multi-millionaire. I see them from a totally different frame. I see them as an author myself, having written 7 books now. I sit and I look at them like, okay, I can see this from a different vantage point, to the point that I can extract deep principles of truth from it at the same time. Which means there's never going to be a time that you're going to arrive where you're like, oh, I've figured out the code. Really? Have you? Have you figured out the code? Right? Because that's interesting, because I still haven't fully figured out the code. And if you just somehow figured it out because you listened to the audiobook one time, well, congratulations, you're on some kind of fast track straight to the pearly gates that I didn't know existed. For the rest of you, though, it's not going to be the case. As you evolve, the code's going to take on deeper meaning. As you evolve, the stack's going to take on deeper meaning. When I say the word submit in the framework of stacking, all of a sudden you're going to hear this and it's going to hit you different after you've actually been stacking for a period of time. When you've been doing it for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, when you've hit 300 stacks, all of a sudden these frameworks start to make more sense because you're in action with them. But here in the beginning stages, we've just got to get the containers in your brain, drill them like flashcards, and get your mind to start thinking a certain way. I've got to get your brain to bend and to reframe itself in a new direction. We have to reframe the way that you see yourself, and that starts from the inside out by getting these concepts into your mind. If you're clear about what I'm talking about in this, type in the word clear so I know that you're clear. Type in clear so I know you're clear. Okay, get your notes ready. I'm going to write down a few more things. So there are a series of pillars that come to deal with the Warrior's Way. And this is all what the entire Learn conversation is about. The Learn conversation is about you uncovering these pillars and being able to stand powerfully with these pillars as part of a reality for yourself. The first is the code. The second is the stack. The third is the core. The fourth is the door. And the fifth is the game. Now, each one of these concepts or pillars have an associated book with them. You will notice that the book itself is going to follow a process. It's going to start with the conversation of problems. It's then going to jump from problem to possibility. And then you'll notice in the book that I will come back to the principles and that those principles will ultimately lay themselves down on a foundation of the path. These 4 ideas, problem, possibility, principles, and path, these are the frameworks that we're using as I wrote the books and helping you understand the conversation of the Warrior's Way. Each one is going to follow a very similar path. Some of them are longer than others. The code is much thinner because there's not examples in it, because there doesn't need to be. The examples for the code we see inside the stack. All of these 5 pillars, the code, the stack, the core, the door, and the game, all are going to follow that same framework inside the book. Problem, possibility, principles, and path. You'll see some tools in there called production too, right? All following a rhythm. So you're going to start to notice this rhythm as you're reading. You're going to start to notice this rhythm as you're listening. You're going to start to notice this rhythm as you're playing in the conversation with me. Problem, possibility, path, and pitch. But inside of that, when we're learning, it's going to be problem, possibility, principles, and path. Some of you have already recognized this. How many of you have recognized this already in the way that I write, or the way that I teach, or the way that I guide, or the way that we instruct, that we're following some kind of a game like this, pit to peak, with problem, possibility, path, or principles, and path, and pitch? How many have noticed this? Type in me if you've noticed this already. The fact map process you've gone through is exactly the same thing. All we're establishing is, where am I, where do I want to go, and what are the ways to get there? Where am I, where do I want to go, and what is it going to take for me to get there? All the concepts around the code, the stack, the core, the door, the game are all written the same way. Each book following problem, possibility, principles, and path. Now, as we look at those 5 then, there are specific frameworks. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. Frameworks are the reason why many of you are able to follow what I say and how I say it with very intense stability. I'm not showing up and just giving you a checklist of 72 amazing things to do to be able to have her love you tonight. I'm not giving you the 42 steps to success. I teach you in frameworks. While Jesus may teach in parables, I use a lot of parables too. Frameworks are what changed me. My brain operates inside of containers. So does your brain. This is not unique to me, and it's not unique to you. It's the way that our brains have been biologically created. We think through specific containers. These containers are essentially rule sets or boxes in which our brain will put information. If I spend time memorizing the frameworks, then I open up the container for me to put content in. So I'm going to review here in a second what those frameworks are, because the content inside the books is following a specific framework, and that content is going to be placed inside of the actual strategic frameworks I'm about to share with you right now. If we put that content inside of that container or that framework, what happens is I can take on massive amounts of depth inside of that specific framework, and I don't get lost. I can go as deep as I want to go. There's not going to be a limit to it, because everything always collapses back up into the key idea at the top of the framework, which is my 4 fundamental walls of the container inside which content is going to be placed. The books are content. That content is placed inside the container or the framework. The framework allows us to take the content and go deep. Deep. Now, we're going to do a breakout on this for 4 minutes, because I want you to talk about this for a second. What is this idea of content into the container and the framework with that container allowing you to go deep? I need you to catch this concept. So we're going to go 4 minutes on this breakout. Everybody's going to rapid fire, talk about this as a small group. What are you getting from this? What do you mean? What am I meaning by content into container, and how this framework allows us to go deeper inside of what we're discussing with the books? Also, what we're discussing inside of the curriculum we're consuming inside of video and audio. If you're clear about what we're going to talk about here for 4 minutes, type in the word clear into the chat so I know. Again, you're going to see this rapid fire in this learning call. There's going to be lots of you times just talking and teaching frameworks. We have to get you talking. This is an interactive experience. You're not just sitting at home on your iPad fucking around and listening to what's going on here. Time to get involved. So here we go. We got 4 minutes on this. We're going to break it up again. Same situation. I'm going to bring Coach Trevor here into my group. and we'll get to sit in here and with him and work through the group of the 4 or 5 guys that are there. The rest of you gentlemen are going to be together inside of your groups, all talking through this idea of container, the idea of content, the idea of a framework, and your ability to go deep. My friends, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and off we go.
All right, welcome in, gentlemen. Welcome in. Okay, so let's go rapid fire. We've just got a few minutes to rock through this. What are you hearing? So, Anthony, what you got, man?
Well, without the knowledge, I can't put that in my head, and I can't go deep because I don't know.
Good, that was fast, Rami. Good job.
Beautiful. How does that fit into the container?
Whatever you did, that was great. Keep doing that.
Well, I see the containers being myself.
Good job,
I
bud.
consume the content from the codes, from the books of each topic to be able to swim, because I don't know what I'm doing in the pool.
I love it. Love it. Beautiful. Jeff, what about you? What would you add, man?
Yeah, the containers are the framework which you set all of your truth in to separate your truth from your stories, your facts from your feelings. Different containers you use to contain each thing. All your thoughts and all the processes of everyone.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, Cody. What you got?
Hey, Coach, how are you, man?
Great.
You know, I've been seeing for a while now, Garrett is the king of frameworks, and I think just being involved in Warrior over the last few years, it takes time, but the way he frames every conversation gives you these simple, usually 4-part frameworks, you know, and it starts to really like become a part of how you think. It's like it becomes your operating system. So that's what I take. I think back in, what was it, Big Money Marketer, like this all these Fortune Max, where it kind of teaches how to lay these things out.
Yep.
Very valuable.
Yep.
Like the
100%.
most impactful way to teach. So.
Beautiful. Great perspective. John, what's up, brother?
Hey, so I'm learning a lot. This is definitely a new perspective. So it's just, I think it really speaks, I guess, to me as far as what you're consuming is equally important. Effectively get out for quality of life. And I think the system has taught me to learn how to step outside the box.
You're going to get a new microphone. That's not going to work.
I think bigger fitness, being, life's conversation, relationships. So I think this is, honestly, it's really incredible.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Justin, Mr. King. What's up, brother? Good to see you again. Twice in one day, man.
Honestly, man, I am a little lost on this, but I would say maybe that's because I woke up at 3 a.m. But I would say, like, once you understand the framework, you can see that in each of the books, and that's how you go deeper in the learning of those books as you study them.
It's kind of like, right, you've got this content, right? If you don't have a container to put the content in, your ability to go deep is not there at all because you're not even be able to relate to the content. So it's that container, really, right, which is to hold it all. So we've got 30 seconds. I'm picking on you, Jeff. Speak to me about depth. How does this help you go deep?
Going deep is honing in on one subject and taking it all the way down, picking it apart, peeling back the layers of the onion, going all the way down into the, just get it below surface level and keep digging down, keep toning in more and more on your issues, what you're dealing with, you know?
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful share. Thank you, gentlemen. Don't worry, Justin, you'll get there. You get this figured out. It's at 3 a.m., bro.
Thanks, Coach.
You'd be blown away at how far you can go if you'll just not go slow. I don't even mean like going fast. I mean legitimately just not going slow. There's a daily rhythm to what this game is, which we'll focus on in our live call today. But the learning aspect of this is also part of it, which is just the settling into, I'm going to figure this out no matter what. No matter what, I am committed to learning this game, and I am committed to having it all, and I'm committed to becoming a free man. And if the pathway to my freedom comes through the door of learning new shit, then I will learn this better than anyone around me. I will become obsessed with it. There have been multiple times where I have eliminated all the books from my library, which means I'm going to do it again this year, where I literally take all the books that have been shipped to me, books that have been sent to me, books that people shared with me, books I had purchased and placed on my iPad devices, and I will delete them all. I will take all the books out of my library and I will put them into garbage bins and literally throw them away on the street. And people are like, you should go give them to somebody. I was like, well, they can come get them. They're in the garbage bin. And I get rid of all of them. I select specific books that I'm going to keep. And with those books, guess what I do? I become obsessed with those books. My goal is not to learn to read them. My goal is to become them. My goal is not to understand them. My goal is to become a walking example of it. This is why when I went in and began to study the Bible last year, I didn't study the Bible like anyone I knew. I wasn't trying to memorize scriptures to impress anybody. I wasn't trying to do it so that everybody knew I was cool. But this was not the focus. My focus was, I'm going to obsessively devour these words. And I'm going to start in a place where most people don't start. I'm not going to start in the New Testament. I'm going to start in the Old Testament. And I'm going to start in the book of Genesis. And I stayed in the book of Genesis for almost 6 months. People were like, how could you stay in the book of Genesis for 6 months? I said, I have no race. There's no race. I'm not trying to get to the end so I can tell everybody, yay, give me a medal. I finished the Bible. I am so cool. Yeah, but you still suck ass at living, so what was the point? So you read another book? And that's the challenge, is the fact that we've become a society of people who just get value from consumption just for consumption's sake. I'm not interested in you consuming this content so that you know this content. I'm interested in you consuming this content so you become a walking example of the content. I should be able to hand you a microphone at WarriorCon 5 and put you on the stage and have you teach the code. But not from my way, using the frameworks of the code, the curriculum of the code, and your own personal revelation about the code. I should be able to hand you a microphone and have you go off for 30 minutes in front of thousands of people and teach the code as if you had written it yourself. I'm going to get what I'm talking about. Type in, I get it in chat. I'm going to get what I'm after. Type in, get it in the chat. And it's not just because I'm after a bunch of people who can teach the Warriors way. Here's what I know. If you've become the curriculum, this is going to open up a lot. For many of you, you've been called to lead movements. The reason you don't lead the movement that God's called you to lead is because you do not have access to frameworks, curriculum, software, and tools to support you in doing it. So you just turning on your phone and talking about some cool shit on the internet, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. You're just another voice talking about something on the internet that nobody cares. You're avoidable, doesn't matter. What I want this to become for many of you is a curriculum of your own soul. Which means you walk in and you talk about the code and people are like, how did you figure that out? And I'm like, it is who you are. It's not what you learned. I don't give a shit if you give me credit. I want you to become it. The point of Lawyer Launch is for you to become the curriculum so that God can speak through you to others about living by code. Not so that you can reference my books, so that you can become the author of an experience, that the code becomes who you are, that the stack becomes who you are, that the core becomes who you are, that the door becomes who you are, that the game becomes who you are, so that when you speak about it, you have a very similar experience like I did when I had Rich Dad Poor Dad. Here's how it went down. It was the first place I had ever learned about income statements and balance sheets. I didn't even know what these were. No idea. No idea. So I was told that you could save some money on taxes when I had first gotten into mortgages. So I got into mortgages, and the only problem was that the company I was working for, I was a W-2 salesperson. Didn't know the difference between W-2, 1099, didn't understand any of that shit. Didn't understand it all. But I knew we needed to set up a corporation. So I went in and I met with one of our attorneys. First guy I'd ever met with about something like this. And he let us set up our corporations. And the first corporation said, you can name it anything you want. And I said, you know what, I'm going to name it. I thought for a minute, thought for a minute. Then I came up with a really ridiculously stupid name. And it was called Big Bala Incorporated. Literally. 21 years ago, the first company I ever built is called Big Bala. Literally, B-I-G space B-A-L-L-A Incorporated. Stupidest fucking name on the planet. I kept this corporation for about 10 years just because it was so stupid. Now here was the fun part that got to the end of the entire experience, which is I sat down with my attorneys and doing my tax planning, and I said, cool, let's do all of our taxes. And he sat down and he started showing me some income statements and balance sheets. I came to find out real quickly the fact that you can't take W-2 income and do anything with a corporation if you haven't run everything through the corporation, because all the money was being paid to me as the W-2, so it didn't really matter. He didn't inform me about that before we set up the corporations. I was a little irritated by that later. But I remember him sitting down with an income statement and a balance sheet, and he started drawing it out. And I asked him a question. I said, bro, have you heard of Robert Kiyosaki? He's like, no. Now, in my mind, I'm like, how is that impossible? How have you not heard of Robert Kiyosaki? And he keeps drawing it out. And I said, you know these things that you're drawing out right now, this income statement and balance sheet, do you know who created that? And he's looking at me with this kind of confused face, right? Because he's an attorney / accountant. He's fairly smart in these areas. And I said, Robert Kiyosaki. He's like, listen, I don't know who this Robert Kiyosaki is, but I can promise you he didn't come up. He did not invent income statements and balance sheets. The first person I had ever learned this from was him. As far as I was concerned, he was the orator and the creator of the income statements and balance sheets. Why? Because he was the voice through which I learned them. So to me, I was born as a pup in the world of money to Robert Kiyosaki as his child, his offspring in the world of financial statements. I want people, when they hear you speaking about the Warriors Way, I want them to feel like you created all of it. I want the curriculum to be so intensely part of your being that when you speak about living the core 4 lifestyle and having it all, body, being, balance, and business, when you talk to me about the conversation of the code, real, raw, relevant results, when you talk about the conversation of stacking, stop, submit, struggle, strike, when you talk about these frameworks, when people hear you speak, they're mesmerized. You're not quoting me, you're not giving me quote unquote credit. You've become the curriculum. And then God will pour through you in a universal way that is specific. When you talk about the code, it's going to sound different. Same frameworks, same concepts, but it's going to sound different. If you come into this from an intention of having to teach it, if you come in it from an intention of, I'm going to coach people on this, whether you do or you do not, it will change the frame on which you are learning. It will change the frame on which you are experiencing this game. If you get what I'm talking about, type in I get it. Type in I get it in the chat if you get what I'm talking about. Type in I get it, type in I get it, type in I get it. So let's take a look. Get your notes out. We're going to take some notes on the frameworks end. Because these frameworks are going to become the backbone of everything that you learn here. The first framework we're going to look at is the code. The code was a foundational piece. It was the very first framework that we came up with here. And I say we, God was just telling me what to figure out. And I was chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. Until I got to a place where I could finally, it made sense to me. The code itself is going to sit in the following. First word is real. Again, I make it simple for you because we're going to ultimately have note cards that you can practice with. You're going to have to pass this shit off. When you get to the Crucible graduation event with me at my office at the HQ, I'm going to grill your ass in front of the entire group. You're going to be under fucking pressure in very precarious situations, and in situations where if you don't know the framework, if it's not who you are, if it's not become who you are, you will not pass. You do not pass, you do not enter Warrior Council. Period. The end. So this first part of the framework is real. Simple words, real. Real is dealing directly with the conversation of facts. Real facts. Everything in Warrior is built upon this first aspect, the first wall of the framework of the code, which is be real. Facts, real, facts, real, facts, real, facts. Type it in the chat. Let's go. Real facts. Type it in the chat. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Type it in the chat, type it in the chat, type it in the chat. Real facts, real facts, real facts, real facts. Second part of the framework, and again, I'm not going to go deep in these. I want you just to get the basic idea, get them written down for yourself, because this is what the entire Learn call is going to be about. This is what the entire Learn stage of the curriculum is you coming to terms with the frameworks and then putting the content inside the containers of those frameworks. Second one, raw feelings. Raw feelings. What am I feeling around this? Rawness is emotion. Realness is logic. Real facts married up to raw feelings. Real facts married up to raw feelings. I don't get these two dialed in. It doesn't matter. I try to go to raw feelings without real facts. I'm fucked. You try to stack without these two, you're done. You're done. You can't. The code is the glue around everything. The code is oxygen. Without this oxygen, you die. The body can do nothing without the oxygen. You cannot live the warrior's way. You will not end up at the Warrior Launch Crucible event. You will not graduate from the Warrior Launch. You will not move forward into Warrior Council. You will not have it all. You will not become a free man if you cannot get this initial piece locked down. I live by code, and it's simple. Real facts, raw feelings. Part number 3. Relevant focus. Again, the books are going to take you deeper on this. Conversation is going to go deeper on this. Relevant focus. So I come into this, I say, well, the code involves then real facts, raw feelings, relevant focus. I give you alliteration and I teach it this way so that your brain can memorize it. It gets simple, it gets rhythmic, it gets rhythmic. So here we go, let's test it out inside the chat. Type in the first part of the framework of the code, real facts. Type it in the chat, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Real facts, real facts, real facts, real facts. Come on, here we go, come on, here we go, come on, here we go. Good. Part 2, raw feelings. Type in the chat, let's go, raw feelings. Raw feelings in the chat, raw feelings in the chat, raw feelings in the chat. Here we go, 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 here we go. Number 3. Relevant focus. Let's go. Relevant focus, relevant focus, relevant focus, relevant focus, relevant focus, relevant focus, relevant focus. Part 4 of the framework. Results, fruit. Resulting fruit. Raw facts, or real facts, raw feelings, relevant focus, and result-driven fruit. By their fruit you shall know them. Pretty simple. By their fruit you shall know them, not by their facts, of their feelings, none of these. All of this fruit is how you're going to know people. Fruit. So why everything we do inside of our fact maps, everything we do inside of your fact map experience with us as you go immersive. A lot of you did this part of it inside of WarriorCon 4, but you're going to go through the full experience with us. Hopefully you're going to do this in December with us. You're going to have an opportunity every month to repeat that if you need to. You're going to have to turn in the work from that. It's part of the live experience. But right now, I just want you to understand, we have to get the container in our mind. Fruit is the outcome of the code. Real, raw, relevant results. Facts, feelings, focus, fruit. 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 Real facts, raw feelings, relevant focus, and results-driven fruit. All of these frameworks make up the code. We can go as deep as we need to off the reservation with this framework. You don't understand this framework, the rest of it's not going to make sense. Gentlemen, we're going to go into a share on this. You got 5 minutes to talk through this framework as a group. Talk through the framework. Again, some of you were asking questions about containers and frameworks, etc. Hold your questions at the very end. My goal here is to get these frameworks out to you so you've got them. We got 4 more we got to cover, but we got a 4-minute share. So 4-minute share, same situation. We're going to talk through this framework. Everyone gets a chance to dial through it, and you get to dialogue as a group your understanding of what this is. Real what? facts, raw, what? Feelings, relevant, what? Focus, and our final results-driven fruit. If you're clear about what we're going to do here in this 4-minute breakout, type in clear in the chat so I know you're clear. Let's go. Give me clear up in that chat, clear up in that chat, clear up in that chat. Here we go. We got 4 minutes on this share. Same thing, Rami here up on the main stage. Get Trevor up in here with me. 3, 2, 1. Off we go.
All right, gentlemen, the code. Real raw relevant results. Let's see, Derek, take it away, man. What's coming up as we go through this framework, bro?
So I kind of started implementing the code work on 4, just getting real about the situation I was in. Kind of felt those feelings as I was down in the pit, and so I got focused on what do I need to do, and I implemented it, and the results spoke for themselves. So without sugarcoating it, had a conversation with the wife, had to tell her some hard things, and it was super fruitful. So yeah, I love it.
Beautiful. Way to take action right out of the gate, bro.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
So difficult conversation after difficult conversation after difficult conversation. That's just been my week.
Beautiful. You're feeling a lot of shit. You're like, what the hell?
I love it.
All right, Chuck, what would you add to this, man? Can't hear you, bro. You're not muted, though, so maybe your microphone's off. Oh, we'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Let's see, Brian, what you got, man?
I like the alignment to the stack. If anything, it's a stack mathematical equation. We approach the stack with the facts, how we actually feel about it, sit down, focus on what we're about to do, and that equals the fruit that we're going to obviously receive from that. So I just kind of looked at it and just remember it's 3 things added together to get that end result, that product at the end. So
Yeah, beautiful. And you'll notice a lot of our tools and frameworks that marry up, obviously, as we dive into this. So great observation. Curtis, what's up, brother?
Real is the facts. If we are in a situation where we're just trying to bullshit ourselves and we're not living in the facts, then we're not real. That's the foundation. If we can't understand, separate the facts from the fiction, then we have no foundation to build off of. It's got to be a fact, whether we like the fact or not. It's still a fact. It's a number. A number is a fact.
Beautiful. Basically, the word you said, foundation. Right at the foundation of it all. Just like Garrett said multiple times, you don't get this, good luck. Good luck. Beautiful. Jimmy.
All these line up together to create the fruit. The biggest one I have problems with is the feelings part.
Yeah.
So you gotta really be raw, and you really gotta get those raw feelings out there. The stack helps a ton. If you start to focus on the facts, it'll draw out those feelings, and it'll change your focus, and obviously change your mindset, so it'll provide the fruit. So.
Yeah, the stack's a tool that helps you, but if you're not living by the code to begin into a stack, doesn't matter. You can stack all day long outside of the integrity of the code, and it wouldn't have no impact. So, beautiful. All right, Chuck, we get it figured out? Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
got you,
Okay.
dude.
So I think the code is a way for us to change stories, because I got all kinds of things I know, and my truth sucks in a lot of areas. So the code gives us that relevancy of understanding, how do we approach this whole thing? So the facts part being the logical part makes sense, then the emotions bringing it in about really what are you feeling as guys who suck at that. And when you can think through those terms, then there should be some fruit coming from what we're trying to do here in my life. There's things I know really freaking well, and I still got a problem as far as why can't I fix this damn thing? So I think the whole stories thing gets completely rerouted when you're dealing with the code for yourself, even how you approach all this stuff. So that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful share. And that was a great button up on that conversation. So great share, gentlemen. I'll see you guys back in the main room. Keep rocking and rolling.
Great job. Framework number 1, the code. Let's take a look at something I drew on this. I want you to draw the same thing on your side so that you've got it. So take out a sketch pad or a journal If you want to use the note section inside of inside the app, you can do that too. I want you to draw it out like that. So put it up as a quad. You got the code at the beginning and the middle. You got real, raw, relevant results. On top of that, I live by a code. I live by a code. Real, raw, relevant results. Draw this out. Take a screenshot of it. Once you have that drawn out, type in the word done in the chat so I know that you got it. Type in the word done in the chat. Once you've got that one done, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. We got 4 more frameworks to get through, so I'm going to go through a bit of a teaching moment here for the next 15, 20. So just stay with me and let's keep learning. Okay. Next framework we're going to deal with is the stack. Stack has a simple framework. It's the only one that doesn't come with 2 words, right? So the only one that's going to have 2 words is going to be the code. There's kind of a transition between that, between fact maps and the code. That's where the second framework of facts, feelings, focus, fruit came from, with real, raw, relevant results. Second one inside of the stack then. Stack itself was the second, it's actually the second tool that we teach now. It's the tool that I have you dive into immediately, even before Core 4. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but when we first started, we didn't have the stack, so that wasn't even an option. Stack itself, those are going to begin with the very first word in its framework, which is stop. Stop. It's exactly what it sounds like. Stop. Inside of understanding this framework, then, this means that I'm actually stepping into a process in my life deliberately with the stack where I am choosing to stop what's going on. I'm hitting the brakes on life, and I'm going to submit myself into an iPad, into a desktop, into an iPhone, into an Android, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to submit myself into the tool, and I'm going to start stacking. But that requires me to stop. Stop allows me to assess what's going on in my situation. Next piece, submit. Again, we have deep dive training around these frameworks going to be available for you. For now, I just want you to catch the concepts of this framework so you got them in your head as we get through here this first call. Submit. This means that I'm not just stopping what I'm doing. I'm submitting to the truth inside of this stack. I'm being willing to drop into reality at a different level with God inside of my dialogue, no matter what type of stack I'm using. I'm using a rage stack, excited stack, angry stack, irritated stack, prayer stack, happy stack, appreciation stack, doesn't matter. Whatever stack I'm entering into, it's the same process, same framework. Stop and submit. Stop and submit. Stop and submit to the process of the stack. I can mentally go through the exercise. 2 thumbs, I can go through the exercise, voice to text it, and I can just put some bullshit out there. In the beginning, all of these habits you're building are going to require this, right? We're going to talk about this in the live call. There's a beginning process to everything where it's just about getting reps in so that your brain just gets used to it and gets used to being in the process. But the second piece of this framework is where things start to shift in a stack, which is you start to submit to the power of God inside of that stack with you, which is no longer you just with yourself. In the beginning, it's you going to be dialoguing with you, but there's going to be a third voice that's going to enter into this conversation as you stay committed to this process. How many of you have had this experience happen in a stack where there has been moments where you feel like there are things coming through you into the stack that otherwise were not necessarily coming from you? Type in me in the chat if you've had this experience. You'll know that you've arrived at the door of revelation inside of stacking when this starts to become a fairly common experience, which is you enter a stack only to submit to revelation. This means that I've got to be willing to actually speak all of my truth. Some of you are going to struggle with this with the stack. You're going to be okay with the happy clappy stacks, which is you're going to be okay with gratitude, you're going to be okay with happy, you're going to be okay with excited and appreciation and gratitude. But when it comes to rage, when it comes to game of anger, when it comes to game of irritation, you're not going to be as open. You're going to not want to say certain things. You're not going to want to type them in. You're not going to want to voice them into the stack. And so we're saying here, the second part of this framework with stacking is, number 1, stop. Number 2, submit. Number 3, struggle. Struggle. What are we saying here with struggle? What we're saying with struggle is that there's going to be a battle that's going to go on. A battle that happens between you and you. There's you prior to the stack, and there's you in and after the stack. Again, remember, the key phrase inside of stacking is the fact that change your story, change your life. right? We want to go to this place called freedom. We want to go to this place called winning the impossible game. We want you to get to the Warrior Crucible event 3 days with me here in Dana Point at the Warrior HQ so that you can move yourself forward into the leverage game of this system, which is taking the entire Warriors Way system and applying it to business and money in a massive way, right? But to get there, to get to that piece, we have to be able to be willing to struggle. Struggle with the narratives and the stories that keep you hostage today. The amount of money that you make, the way your body is, the way that your marriage is, the way that your sex life is or is not, the way that your relationship with your kids is, the relationship with your friends is, the relationship with yourself and God, your body. All of this is a result of stories that you've told yourself. These stories are linked up to the code, real stories or facts inside of our brain. There is a scenario of relevancy that comes along with those stories that's preceded by feelings of rawness. This is a place for you to be honest. This is a place for you to be real. I will tell you, we have sat down with psychologists and psychiatrists and we have walked through therapy and we have seen what has happened. Men come into therapy and come into programs using the stack and individuals, the therapists don't even know what to do with themselves. I was like, yeah, I know. It feels kind of crazy to know that we built a tool that allows a man to connect to God and get bigger results with more practical action than sitting in therapy and letting you talk to them or have them talk to you for 15 sessions at $250 a session. This is reality. This is a fact, period, the end. It's undebatable. There are great therapists. I'm not taking away from therapy as an idea. What I want you to look at, though, is that this framework is ultimately stepping you into a tool that allows you to walk and talk in divine therapy with God every day. Getting revelation in all kinds of categories of life on exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it across body, being, balance, and business. So stop, submit, struggle. Last one, strike. The strike is your ability to do shit. Go. Do. Notice, stop, submit, struggle, and strike. Strike is the action that comes out of stacking. Stacking is not just an exercise of feeling good. It's not the point. The point is not for you to feel good. The point is for you to get clear, and in that clarity to get the action required and then execute. Execute. Between where you are and the place you say you want to go at this next level of freedom sits obstacles, challenges, and the biggest is yourself. We have to be able to get you out of the way. We have to get you to move out of the way so that we can get you to move toward these results. For example, some of you are sitting in a situation in your relationship where your sex life is like, it's just not that great. Maybe you're not having sex at all. Maybe you are having sex, but you don't feel wanted. Maybe it's not very deep and emotional. Like, I don't know. We've seen every game across the gamut here, and myself, I've been through all of them myself. I can tell you right now, being in lustful, divine connection with my wife now, like in the way we were, 2.5, almost 3 hours, which seems fucking impossible. Some of you, it's impossible in your brain to even think through this. It was impossible for my brain to think through 10 years ago, 12 years ago, too. How is it even possible I could be in a place where the craving for my wife and her for me was so rich and so intense that something like this could go on for hours of experience that is beyond physicality into something soul level in its connection, beyond orgasms into something so pure and so powerful that it transcends the orgasm and the physical experience, yet you're having those two. This was fucking impossible. Well, here's what I know. The guy that shows up in the bedroom now and the guy that I was begging for hand jobs and cheating just fucking 13 years ago, these two guys are not the same human beings. That guy's fucking dead. I buried him 100 times. And I buried him inside of the stack. I stopped, I submitted, I struggled, and I striked. I struck with power and vengeance every single day. That striking capability, if it doesn't occur, then all we are is sitting in talk therapy with yourself in a game of mental masturbation. You get what I'm talking about? Type and I get it. Type and I get it in the chat if you get what I'm talking about. Yes, for those of you that were at WarriorCon 4, which is all of you, you get exactly what I'm talking about with Nick coming on stage and me having to take his shirt off. There's a version of Nick that's 195 pounds and he's lean and he's got a six-pack and he's on fire and he's doing all kinds of things in life different than what he is now. We know that guy lives by a series of stories and narratives that are very different than the current Nick that let himself get to 320 pounds. Period. The end. The way he thinks, the way he operates, the way he moves about the day, the way he engages with people, the way he sees himself as a man, the way he deals with sex, the way he deals with business negotiation, the way he parents, the way that he deals with his neighbors, the way he has a relationship with God. All of this changes. But stacking is at the core of this game. There are a lot of different stacks, but the principles of stacking are going to stay the same. So the stack is stop, submit, struggle, and strike. So give me the first part of the framework for the stack. Here we go. What's number one? Type it in the chat. Type in number one in the chat. Type it in, type it in, type it in. What is it? Beautiful. Give me number two. Number two in the chat. Give me the second one. Give me the second one in the chat. Good. And here we go. Give me number three. Give me number three. Give me struggle. Give it to me in the chat. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And let's go to number four. Give me number four in the chat. Number four in the chat. Beautiful. So drop the same picture that you had before with the code. We're going to have our box. Stack. We've got our 4 keywords sitting in our framework. We've got stop. We've got submit. We've got struggle. And we've got strike. The statement up above is, I attack with the stack. There's our second framework. Second framework in the mix. Okay, this one's critical. We're going to share with this one. So the next two, we're going to do 2 in a row. We're going to do the door and core together because it was a little simpler. For this one, we're going to do a 4-minute breakout on this one, same topic. I want you to talk through this framework with the stack. Stop, submit, struggle, strike. Stop, submit, struggle, strike. Real, raw, relevant results, facts, feelings, focus, fruit. Stop, submit, struggle, strike. How many of you are starting to see the pattern in this? How many are starting to feel the rhythm in this? Type in hell yes in the chat if you're starting to see this. There's a rhythmic pentameter to this that will allow your brain to fall in love with the frameworks. And as it falls in love with the frameworks, you will learn faster and faster and faster, which makes the living part much easier because your brain can justify why we're doing this instead of just you trying to do some shit out of nowhere and be like, well, I don't know why I don't care about doing it. You don't care about doing it because you have nothing in your brain that says you should be doing this. All right, here we go. We got 4 minutes on the clock. Again, same situation. We got 4 or 5 people per group. Each person going to rapid fire. Just talk through this framework again for the stack. 4 minutes, 3, 2, 1, and off we go.
All righty, welcome in, gentlemen, on the stack. Kevin, let's what you taking away from this, man, on this framework of stop, submit, struggle, strike? You are muted, though.
Gotcha. All right, I got it now. Yeah, doing the stack in the core 4 is not checking the box. It's you're doing it for a reason. You're taking the time, so you have to take the time to submit and struggle. Again, I feel like it's easy when you're doing the stacking to go through the process, especially when you're answering the questions. The prayer stack is easier because it forces you. There really aren't any leading questions. But the other ones, there's a lot of leading questions, and I can go yes, yes, no, no, no. But for me, where I've got with my stacking game is the strike part is critical. I do not ever want to end a stack without a strike. I'm doing that stack to come up with action. What is it that I'm going to do? What am I going to learn? And what am I going to do coming out of this?
Beautiful, beautiful example, beautiful explanation. James, what would you add to that, man, on this framework? Stop, submit, struggle, strike.
Yeah, so I think the key thing is you need to set aside the appropriate amount of time so that you can stop and have a distraction-free period of time. Submit to going through the process of working through doing the stack, and then struggling with it as far as wrestling with it and being open to the process and taking the pauses along the way, and then coming up with a strike or an action, something to do afterwards. If you don't do something, then you're just wasting your time mentally masturbating, like you say, right? So.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Brendan, what would you add, man? What's coming up for you?
Holy shit. So I'm new to Warrior, just finished up WarriorCon 4. Didn't know anything about you guys 10 days before that. However, during WarriorCon 4,
welcome.
Thank you. During WarriorCon 4, and we had a couple of breakouts there where I asked two other brothers, you know, what's a stack? How do I stack? And I've got the app open on one screen, and you know, and I'm like, holy shit, I don't even know how to stack. So that just in the last half hour, I'm now, it's like a light bulb just went on. Okay, I understand this now. How can I relate this to my own life? Real quick, you know, I have a problem with drinking. I own that. Okay, and I'm like, all right, I wrote this down. I'm like, holy shit, this is an actionable step to be able to quit drinking. Start a stack, and then strike right at the end, obviously. But that was a light bulb moment for me. I was furiously writing notes a few minutes ago.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, yeah. Just keep trusting the process, bro.
You bet.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, Jose, what would you add to that? Thanks, Brendan.
You bet.
Can't hear you. Jose, you're not muted though.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. There we got you.
All right. I agree with all that. I've done a couple of stacks myself, and you know, it's checking yourself, checking your stories. A lot of times, you know, I'm used to telling myself kid stories, and it's making my behavior be shitty. But the couple of stacks that I've done, you know, I mean, I get the process and all that, and it's just attacking myself to hit that ego. Because a lot of times, you know, that's what's making me act a certain way. So it's checking myself, and at the end, having a strike, you know, how to prevent that shit from happening. So I like it, and I really like it. So
Yeah. Well, I think you hit a key point, man. Is you're identifying and looking inside yourself, realizing, hey, if I want something to change, it's right here. Yeah. Beautiful
Taking
share.
responsibility. Yeah.
Yep. Taking responsibility. Exactly. All right, gentlemen. Great shares. See you guys back at it.
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
How many of you starting to see I might have put a few minutes of thought into this shit prior to you arriving here at this call? Type in hell yes in the chat if you can see this clearly starting to appear before your view. Like a little magic. Listen, one of the skills I have is teaching. Teaching people. Like, I'm obsessed with what it takes to get people to get things. Like, people get excited about cars and watches and other shit. I get excited about watching people go from dumb to smart, from ignorant to inspired, from absolutely confused to deeply clear. Whatever the reason, God built a chip in me that just gets excited about watching that process happen when people snap across from one place to another. So learning how to make that happen has been my obsession since I graduated from college in PE. I always liked to teach, and just didn't understand how to make it happen the most efficient. So what you're seeing is us refining this over 10 years, and then prior to that, 3 years, 13 years of work to get to a place where these frameworks give us the containers to operate in. So let's come down and give us another container so we can keep moving along here for today. We've dealt with the code, we've dealt with the stack. You've got your picture here. If you haven't taken a photo of it, take a photo of it and or draw it out yourself. We're going to move into our third framework, though, which is the conversation of the core. Core is where things get fairly easy, meaning they're just, you've heard me say them so many times. The core is going to line us down to looking at this framework through the 4 domains of our experience as warrior men. Step 1 is the framework of body. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. And body is going to come with 2 other things that I'm going to line up right now for you. Fitness and fuel. Not complicated. Body has 2 subsets, which we're tracking, fitness and fuel. So we have a framework, the core, body, and underneath that we have a subset framework, which is the trackable items right here, 2 things. Body, fitness, fuel. Body, fitness, fuel. The core, body, fitness, fuel. Now, your physical body. Do I give a shit if you're ripped? Don't care. What I care about is your body is operating in a way that is most efficient for you. So when we talk about the body framework, body is a key element to being able to access power. All of what we're in inside of the core is about power, while the stack was about perspective, and the code was ultimately about you being able to open up permission. When we look at the core, what we're sitting in with the core is we're looking at a game of power, which is every day being able to maximize my capacity. I start small and I maximize my capacity. So no matter who you are, everyone's core 4 is going to be different. What I consider a workout may be overwhelming to some of you and may be underwhelming to some of you. What I consider fitness and what you consider fitness are different. What you consider fuel and I consider fuel are different. So we're going to play this out, and you'll see as this game continues here inside of Learn. Our goal is that you get it into your brain, that this becomes how you see it. That body is a key element to my have it all lifestyle. Second, being. We're specifically looking at this in the tracking game under a subset, which is meditation and memoirs. So we have our high level, the core. We come down into our next framework, being. And under that one, we have a subset framework, which is our trackable 2, meditation and memoirs. Now, part is on live size. You're all going to learn how to meditate. Period. The end. Like, there's a lot of things I could take. Listen, I have no problem with medicine journeys, plant medicine. I have zero. A lot of people have a problem with this. I have zero problem with it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. I think it's brilliant. I think it's not for everybody, but I believe it is for a lot of people. But what I can tell you is, regardless, the medicine that's most needed inside of your world, outside of the code, is your ability to be here now. Part of the be here now is meditation. So meditation is going to be a big deal. Memoirs is your ability to write shit down. It's your willingness to document. Now, every time you stack, you're doing a memoir, which is you're taking my thoughts, taking your feelings, putting them onto paper, documenting them. The interesting thing about writing is that writing is the only thing that will stand the test of time. These videos, they will not stand the test of time. My audios, they will not stand the test of time. My words written down will stand the test of time. Why? Because that shit, you go watch videos from me 10 years ago, like, that guy's an idiot. But if you read shit that I wrote 10 years ago, it comes across differently. So there's a piece in this that we want to turn you all into writers. That's what stacking is going to do. Documenting the kingdom of heaven through you to the kingdom of earth. Body, fitness, fuel, being, meditation, and memoirs. Let's come to our third piece in the framework. Balance. People hear this and they think, oh, balance, work-life balance. No. Here we're talking about partner and we're talking about posterity. Now, this is where you'll see in the tracking game, you'll see person 1 and person 2. So you'll see this up right here, right? You'll have person 1 and person number 2. And I'll explain more about that as you continue to go through the learning experience with myself and Coach Trevor. But for now, just know it's partner and posterity. So we have the third subset of the framework, which is balance, partner, and posterity. We come back to the top, the core, body, fitness, fuel, being, meditation, memoirs, balance, partner, posterity. All of these 3 come together to be the rocket fuel for number 4. Now, interestingly enough, what you may not know is that I did not uncover core 4 with the desire to have it all. That was not the desire. I did not come across the Warrior's Way because I was trying to be free. That was not it. I was coming across these concepts in order to make more money, right? I'd gone through what a lot of guys are going to go through right now in 08 and 09 are going to go through in 2022 and 23. Only in some cases even bigger. Right, because of the market conditions of rising interest rates, inflation, crashing stock market, and political fucking chaos. Put all of that into the mix, and you have a very tumultuous marketplace affecting mortgage brokers, realtors, and financial service advisors. At that time that I was in 08, and there, I was trying to find a way to increase my power or my capacity to do what was required. It wasn't that I didn't know what to do, it's just I kept not doing it. So this framework was specifically built with body, being, and balance as the rocket fuel to number 4. What was number 4? Number 4 was business. I found the core 4 because I was trying to improve my business life. I was just trying to make more money. I just didn't have the power. I didn't have the capacity to do it. I noticed it when I worked out and when I meditated and when I was better with my wife and not such an asshole, that I tend to be more positive, more connected, more expanded, and I would do more. I seemed to do more of what was required when I took care of those first 3. Now, business itself expanded into what we call discover and declare, which is our subset framework along with business. Okay, now I've got this business topic of Discover Declare, which is the process of learning. This is what you're going to be doing here in this entire stage of the Warrior Launch program in the learning phase, which is you coming to terms with, okay, what have I discovered, and then declaring what that discovery is. We actually have a stack called the Discover Stack that directly follows that correlation. But there's going to be lots of different ways to play it. We'll talk about that in our live conversations, but for here in the learn conversation, it's very, very simple. Body, being, balance, business. Body, being, balance, business. Body, fitness, fuel, being, meditation, memoirs, balance, partner, posterity, and our final piece, business, discover, and declare. So I want you to draw out the same box we had before. Put the core in the middle. We're not going to worry about our subsets on this one. We're just going to take body, being, balance, and business. The statement above this is I shield with the core. So I live by a code, I attack with the stack, I shield with the core. Take a picture of this screenshot so that you got it. Move this over here or draw it out yourself so that you have the full framework for the core. Because of time, I'm going to zip through to the next ones just so that you've got them as a conversation. If you are clear, this is the simplest one. We've gone through this many, many times. Most of the time people come into Warrior, this is tend to what they get the first thing is, which is core 4. If you're getting this right now, type in a word clear in the chat so I know that you're clear on this framework. This is the simplest one, the one you've probably covered the most. We're going to move on to the 2 that you probably have not covered as often. Okay, here we go. The door. Write this framework down again. The door. Now, what is the door all about? So here's what ends up happening. When I access the perspective and the permission and the power, all of this expanded possibility has to be directed somewhere, which means there's an actual production plan. I have to have a place to put it. It's what we call the chaos of abundance. I promise you, there are bigger problems having a lot of money than there is having no money. With no money, you have no options. With a lot of money, you have lots of options and you have lots of problems. Bigger problems with bigger money. Most people don't have a lot of money because they're just not very good at solving problems. They think it's because they've done something wrong. Yeah, what's wrong is they don't know how to deal with problems. There's far more stress being wealthy than there is being broke and poor when you're looking for a handout every day. Just like being married and being in a relationship with 4 or 5 kids, far more stress in that than you were when you were single. But when you were single by yourself, you felt stressed out all the time. So the door is our productivity action. This is the what we do in our focused behavior and energy. I'm not going to spend a ton of time walking through this one. That's the point of our content, but I want you to catch the container with this. The first part of this framework is possibility. All the work that you're doing is creating a possibility of actions, things that you can do. Doesn't mean you should do them, but it's going to create possibility of things that you can do. What can I do? What is possible? This is what happens when you live the Warrior's Way, is we expand what you believe is possible. This can be a big challenge. That's why the door was built as part of the software and also part of the curriculum, because we saw what was happening as more and more possibility opened up for men. It actually became quite confusing. How many of you have been in a situation where you've experienced living the Warrior's Way or have been inside this environment where you've seen more options than ever and it's actually become at some level a bit stressful just because of all the possibility? Type in hell yes in the chat if this has happened to you. We watch this happen at our highest level with our guys in ways that seems perplexing. It's like, how is this even possible that this is occurring? It's like wanting to have kids and then you have a bunch of kids and you're like, fuck, dude, maybe I didn't want all these kids. You got 5 kids now. Shit, it's a lot of work. Okay, so possibility is the first standard of the door. Second piece inside of this is plan. I have to be able to take the possibility and I've got to be able to insert a plan or an ideology, a way of thinking to get all that possibility into a structured plan. If I can't get it into a structured plan, then all the possibility doesn't matter. But if I haven't done all the rest of the work, the code, the stack, and the core, if I've not done those, then I can't even see possibility. Like this is this thing that stacks on top of itself. That's why it seems complex, but it's not. It's a series of Legos. Once you put it together, you're like, holy shit, I got a fucking castle. You're like, yeah, you do. Simple Legos. Bop, 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 bop. But if I don't get the bottom Legos and I don't understand the intricate pieces of the Legos, then the castle doesn't make any sense and you ultimately destroy it. So my possibility then, in that place, I create my plan. Plan sets up the third piece of the framework inside the door, which is production. And this is me actually taking action, me doing something in relationship to what I have already planned. Hey, here's my possibility. Cool. Inside all that possibility, what is the actual plan? Here is the plan. Okay, great. Now inside the plan, what become my actions? Oh, here is my specific production inside of that plan. Item number 4, profit. Fourth part of the framework inside of the door is tangible results. Now, the door is a tool that has predominantly been used for business and money. Can it be used for every category? It can be used for every category. Could you use the door as a framework for your body? Yes. Could you use it for being? Yes. Could you use it for balance? Yes. But predominantly it has been a focus tool for productivity inside of money. Okay, money and productive action. So again, our framework is simple: possibility, plan, production, profit. Possibility, plan, production, profit. They stack on top of each other. From my possibility comes my plan. From my plan comes my production or my action. From my production comes the result of my action, which is my profit. 4 simple ideas inside of the door framework. So let's draw these up so that you got them, and then we're going to jump to the final one, the game. Draw it up the same way. The door, it's going to be a little thick. There we go. The door. 4 specifics: possibility, plan, production. Dude, I need to draw this damn thing bigger. Let me fix that real quick. There we go. That one, I'm not trying to jam it all in there. Okay. So I got possibility. I've got plan. I've got production. And our final piece, which is profit. Again, our 4-part framework for the door. The game here is I knock on the door. I live by code. I attack with a stack. I shield with the core. I knock on the door. This simple framework. Make sure you got it written down. Once you have it written down, type in done, so I know you've got it done. We got one more. I'm going to buy 5 minutes from you. We're going to go 5 minutes over. Okay. Final framework. The game. Now, the game is what we started at WarriorCon 4 together. Okay, it's what you went down the path with me on when we started using maps. So the game is a process of you winning the impossibility. There are 4 specific type of maps or 4 specific protocols or ideas that we're going to be using inside of the game. First one, facts. These are typically known as foundational facts. Facts today. What are the facts? What are the facts as they are? Not going to beat this up because you've already understood this one quite detailed already. Second piece, freedom. Facts here, freedom over here. If I looked at these as a gapping experience, I've got my facts over here, I've got my freedom up top. Facts and freedom. This is polling here. I've got this gap between these two. Here are my facts. Here is my freedom. Here are the facts today. Here's the freedom tomorrow. In between these two come the other 2 pieces of the framework. Third piece, focus. We didn't get time to get to that one inside of WarriorCon 4. Focus is a map in and of itself, but it's also an idea, which means it's going to be used in a bunch of different ways inside of the tools of Warrior on a daily and weekly basis. We got facts, we got freedom, and we got focus. And our final piece is fire. Facts, freedom, focus, and fire. These follow inside the game the fact map system and process. There is nothing that I have participated with inside myself, inside other programs, or with a mentor or coach that has been more efficient than what this thing has become. What you experienced at WarriorCon 4 were the notes with the new templates that are all being built in. But there are a series of maps that you're going to be using and ideas in the way it comes to winning this game. Foundational facts about where I am, impossible freedom that I am pursuing, the centralized focus in my next mission, driving down to my weekly fire. What is the shit I must get done this week? These 4 maps collapse together and we expand and collapse them as a unit throughout this framework. But again, here inside of Learn, we're going to learn through process, make sure that your mind has a piece for it. Facts, freedom, focus, fire. Facts, freedom, focus, fire. Type them in the chat once you got them. You know it. Type all 4. Facts, freedom, focus, fire. Type them all as one line with a comma. Facts, comma, freedom, comma, focus, comma, fire. Type them in, type them in, type them in, type them in. Give me all 4. Give me all 4. Once you've got all 4, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to draw out the quad. I'm going to put the game in the middle. And we'll label out our 4. We've got facts, freedom, focus, and fire. The key statement: I win the impossible game. You nail these 5 frameworks, and you actually know what they are, and you can intertwine them between one framework and another, it's over. At your Warrior Crucible event, your graduation event with me, you'll not only become certified, this means you'll be able to go teach this shit. But on top of it, like meaning with my full endorsement, go fucking do. Go. Let's fucking go. Go teach it. Be it. Let's go. But on top of this, I'm going to play a game with you. It's going to require you to interchange these frameworks, which means I'm going to take, imagine a deck of cards, all 5 frameworks. I'm going to take piece from the code, and then I'm going to require you to intercorrelate them between the code and the stack, between the code and Core 4, between the code and the door, between the code and the game. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the stack, and I'm going to take third part of that framework, struggle, and I'm going to take struggle, and I'm going to link it up to freedom inside of the game, and I'm going to require you to correlate these 2. You're going to have to do this inside of your quizzes, you're going to have to do this inside of your tests, and you're going to have to do this inside of your reports across all 5 of these categories in the books that go with them. When you're able to do this, there is an effortlessness that comes into the experience of living the way. Because we're no longer trying to learn it, because now we know it. It is who we become conceptually. Now through doing the work, that learning goes deeper. How many of you are getting this right now? You can see this. Type in I get it in the chat if you can see this. We've got a couple more minutes and we'll wrap up for today. How many of you are here, but you were here in Warrior in the past, but you're here kind of back as like a rerun? We've had some exposure to us in the past, and you can see the power inside of these 5 frameworks the way I'm teaching it. Like, it's just simpler and clearer than what you've ever seen before. Type in fire into the chat. Type in fire. No, Robert, the game book has not been updated, unfortunately. Type in fire in the chat if you're getting cleaner and clearer on this. Yes, there's going to be some outdated concepts inside of the books. We're updating those. There's a lot to do. Updating all this is like trouble. I feel like I need to start over. Well, Christopher, I will tell you what. If you start over under the process the way we've built it here in launch, you will win long term. This is my greatest desire. My desire is not some short-term testimonial case study we can throw up on a website to sell more shit. That's not the desire. If that's all we do, we're fucked. Like, the game is bigger than this. It has to be bigger than this. It's going to require more than this. It's going to require a deep dive into this in a very, 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 very fucking big way. Okay, so let me review these frameworks with you one time. Let's go through them together. Here we are. The code: real, raw, relevant results. Facts, feelings, focus, fruit. The stack: stop, submit, struggle, strike. I attack with the stack. The core: body, being, balance, business. I shield with the core. The door: possibility, plan, production, profit. I knock on the door. And the game: facts, freedom, focus, fire. I win the impossible game. This entire framework not only works, it works on 100% of the time. Like 100% of the time it works. And people are like, well, does that mean everybody gets results? I said, of course not. That's like saying, does everybody go to the gym and get results? Of course not. You can go to the gym and walk around at the gym all day long and still not get results. Why? You can be at the gym for 3 hours a day and still not get results. Why? Because you're not doing what's required. What I'm asking you to do is trust. I'm asking you to trust the process in this. I'm asking you to follow the details. I'm asking you to be here now. I'm asking you to stand inside of this game and not quit. And I'm asking you to take care of your brother. But that means for some of you, you're going to slow down here for a couple of months here in this part of the year in December, November, December. Use this as a time for learning. Learn, conceptualize, understand inside of your brain what this actually means and the depth around it. Many of you can be done with all the curriculum, all of the learn phase of Warrior Launch by the end of this year. Like if not through all your learn and through a lot of your live, but I'm not asking you to do it fast. I want you to do it at a speed that you know you can keep it. That it becomes who you are, not that you go fast and then you fall apart 3 months from now or you fall apart next summer. If you're clear on where we're going with this right now, type in the word clear so I know you're clear. Type in clear. Beautiful. We're going to wrap up for today. I'm going to wrap it up. We have a live call that's coming up today. I realize it's a lot of calls in one day. These calls are not mandatory. You're going to be able to follow the process as you choose, how you choose, when you choose. Right? There's not a process in this that's going to require you to be on calls. We had a season inside of Warrior where the focus was the calls. Focus is not the calls. Calls are here to support you. They're not here to give you more to do. That's it. The calls are here to support you when you have questions and challenges inside of what the curriculum already is and the coursework already is. Could you do this all on your own without the calls? Yeah, you could. Do I suggest it? No, I don't suggest you also be on every single call every single week. Maybe this week, yeah, but not be on every call every single week. You come to calls when you know you need support, or go listen to the replay, which is totally fine too. So we get people at times who will be so committed to actually being in the classroom that they don't actually take it to the real room called life. That's why this is a two-part game. We have learning and we have living, but learning will not matter if we don't live. And that's our focus for our call this afternoon, talking through software, talking through how this all connects to what your tools are inside the frameworks. But for today, this is going to bring us to a conclusion. I want to make sure that we got the frameworks out to you and we got the rules out to you so that your brain is in a positive and powerful place of, okay, I've got a journey I'm taking on here. This is not a weekend warrior boot camp. I am trying to wake the fuck up and stay awake, and I want to have it all, and it is worth it if I build a foundation that will last. My home, it's an amazing home. The foundation took 2 years to design, to grade, and to pour. 3 different concrete companies. To fit the home I have on the lot size I have here in Orange County on an angle heading down towards the ocean was a piece of art. Took a long fucking time. Foundation took as long as it took to build the rest of the house. Have some patience with this. Have some patience with yourself. If you got questions, etc., we're going to give you outlets for how to pull that off. We have releasing a new tribe unit, new chat units for everybody inside this group. Coach Trevor, the rest of the team, myself will be involved in those with you. These calls are in all the details and structure coming out at the end of this week. Thank you so much for being here for today. But let's leave today. Replays will be available by the end of the week. May even have this one up sooner for you today. We'll find out. But here's what I want for today. Today we're just going to close our eyes. We're going to wrap up together in a special way. Let's go. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. I'm never going to apologize. Keep your eyes closed. Never going to apologize for how we play here ever. We may make adjustments, we make shifts and moves. They're always based on what we feel will deliver the best results to the largest number of people in the group. Some of you uncomfortable with this idea of praying? Good. Be uncomfortable with it and pray with us anyways. Some of you love it? Great. Then do it with us. We're going to start getting to a place where many of you are going to be the ones who are offering these prayers for us, so we can start every week, and when we close it up. For today, it's going to be me. All right, here we go. Take a deep breath in. And hold it. And just be with it. Feel your heart beating. And release. And deep breath in. And hold it. And release. One more deep breath in. And hold it. And hold. And hold. And release. Father, we're closing up this meeting together. There's a lot that's been covered, a lot of frameworks have been covered, a lot of ideas and concepts have been laid out. And Father, I would ask that you would guide these men, that this week and the rest of this year, that they would find the custom understanding of this curriculum themselves, that they would come to discover it as if they had created it themselves in a very similar fashion to the way I did, so they can feel a sense of ownership with what these frameworks are, what these ideas are, these concepts, that they would become who they are, that would become something of who they are intuitively, knowing that these results are going to be linked up to the decisions they make. And Father, we know that this is just the beginning. So also ask for patience and for appreciation to be laid down on them. They would have some appreciation for themselves and some gratitude for the fact they're even here, even making a run at this. On top of this, that they would have some ability to have patience with themselves, as some of the areas that they're going to be working through as they learn and live the Warrior's Way. There's going to be some rough spots, some difficult patches, some hard conversations, and some dark seasons as they deal with some years and even decades of choosing to live a certain way before coming here. And Father, we just ask for your guidance to be with them today. We ask for peace to be with them today, that as they go forward, that these concepts, they start to learn the Warrior's Way, as they listen to the books, they listen to the concepts, that in that place that you would translate it to them, that you would let it land in their heart in a way, in a form. If there's things they say that are too offensive or get in the way of them being able to understand it, that you would just allow their mind to push that to the side. That inside of whatever the triggers were, the conversations, that there would be an openness and a freedom that they are pursuing, that they would find that this week is our prayer as we wrap up this call. In Jesus' name, amen. Brothers, thank you so much for being here this week. Have a great rest of your week. If we see you on the live call, that'll be fantastic with the replays up and a ton of powerful frameworks and simple tools coming to you this week to make sure you understand how to win inside of Warrior Launch. For now, that's all I got for you today. This is Garrett G. White signing off, saying love and light. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.